All right, welcome into the half, everybody. My name is Aaron Montgomery at oursuccessgroup.com. Eric, I'm going to let you introduce yourself today.
My name is Erich Campbell from erichcampbell.com. And we're happy to have you here on the half today, where it is generally Q&A, but we do have some things we like to talk about generally. But if you want to derail us by any means, if you're here live and you want to ask questions about anything we do, whether it's embroidery, sublimation, business, success, also getting thinky as we often do on this podcast, by all means, jump in and derail our direction.
Volleyball, installing drip systems, billiards,
surviving the heat,
surviving the heat. Yeah,
all of these things are part of what we do.
We can talk about any of those things, and we'll and if you have ideas for a better transition for us starting off and me going, Eric, introduce yourself. I'm done with you.
I'll just jump in next time now that I know.
But that's the way it came across. That's not really what I meant. All good. So, all right, well, better. Eric. Yeah, that's right. So the first thing that we like to do here, so we get derailed, which again, that's what we're looking for, is that derailment. But first thing we like to do here is, this is an opportunity to get your take on what we just talked about. So over on the two regular guys, we had Dan Short from the Drunken Leprechaun Designs, I think, or something along those lines.
Drunken Leprechaun Designs, drunkenleprechaun.com, I think.
So we really just talked about his experience. He's a big DTG proponent, but has done lots of things. So what were some of the things that stood out to you, or kind of the recap that you'd like to share?
Well, I'll say this. Number one, as we have found out from every decorator we talk to, almost just about every decorator, we slide into this industry sideways and on fire. We're not, very few of us seem to come to this industry where, like, I want to decorate apparel. That is what I set out to do with my life. I know some people who have
that. Really? I have not.
I've heard a couple people, and certainly I've seen people who really want to, especially in the embroidery space. It's their hobby and they want to make it their thing. Whereas it was not. I'm just going to come out straight away. This was not my hobby. I never intended to do embroidery. This was not something I planned on doing or got any education for at all. This is something I became, obviously became fairly enamored with. But no, and it was interesting to hear that same kind of track. And honestly, from someone else who taught themselves, Dan really had the same kind of attitude where it's like, hey, I'm a techie kid and I could figure it out. And somebody said, can you do that? And I wanted to figure out if I could. That's exactly how I came into embroidery. It was really, here's a challenge in front of me of something that is technical and interesting and does have some technology and some graphics involved, and it has some things that are otherwise in my wheelhouse. Can I do it? And once I could do it, I found that there was more and more to do. It was interesting to hear Dan talk about that. Another thing massively for business, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this too, aside of what we already heard from two earlier guys, is that he was really kind of lionish on bullish on people getting word of mouth kind of references. And I think that the garment decoration industry still really survives on word of mouth more than anything. Custom garment decoration, advertising is great and marketing is great. And I'm still here for all of it. And I think that we need to do that marketing, especially if we have our own lines of product, because product marketing is a different animal. But for custom decoration, it's still to this day, asking for the referral is so huge. The people you know are important, and it is much easier to, number one, get more sales out of people you already have sold to, and number two, have them recommend you to friends, family, coworkers, and it makes a big deal. Being someone's, shirt guy, print guy, embroidery guy, gal, what have you, that is still very critical, still very important, and I think that we can't oversell the importance of word of mouth in garment decoration. And I think that was interesting to kind of hear that still being the case for Dan currently. So it's not something that was just 20 years ago when I started. It's not just something in between here and there, but and as we have from Barb here, Barb says from Minnesota Custom Made, most of my business is word of mouth. And I'd have to agree, even in the larger businesses I've worked at over the years, despite the fact that we had advertising, despite the fact that, I'm back far enough that we were getting phone calls out of the Yellow Pages. So look up what a Yellow Pages is if you're under 25.
What?
What? Yeah, phone calls?
Yeah,
is that like texting? Yeah, no. Suffice it to say, with all of that going on, I would say our most critical business was word of mouth always. And if you've been in the business for a period of time and established yourself, then that's easy for you to say. When you're brand new, it's harder. But that's why I think that the big ask, if you're here this week listening to this and you haven't done so, ask your current clients on completing a job, especially if they're happy, if they're like, wow, this is great, thank you so much, I enjoyed this. By all means, the big ask is, you know what, it would really be helpful if you'd recommend me to friends and family. I'd love to see more people, or say, you've been great to work with. If you have anybody else who you think would be great to work with, I'd absolutely love you to send them on over. That would be helpful to me, and I'd love to meet more people like you. Hey, make it about them. That's fine. Make me hear of this thing. But huge.
Yeah, Ramona said ditto and in-person networking when I go to events. Yeah, and
absolutely.
And Eric, my quick take on this is, I agree. I think I see that way too much. Right, people are so focused on new business that they forget to put a process. Because we think, oh, word of mouth is just going to happen organically, right? Yeah. But as you said, right, have your process. How are you going to ask that customer to give you referrals, right? What's in it for them? How can you create an environment that is conducive to them becoming your salespeople, basically? And here's my opinion on why that's the case. And this may not be a popular opinion, but my opinion is the reason that's the case is these quote unquote marketing gurus can't sell you some magic bullet formula for you to actually just talk to your current business, right? They want to sell you you should spend this money on Facebook and I'm going to give you this guaranteed. Well, it's guaranteed to work for your business because that's the way your business is set up, right? But my business might not be set up to do that, right? Maybe my people aren't on Facebook, and so for me to run Facebook ads would be stupid, right? Again, I'm not trying to be talked down. No. Yes, does that stuff work? 100%. But if we were, as business owners, were to say, hey, let me focus on developing a system for my word of mouth and have an actual, this is like a non-negotiable thing for me. Every time I get done with a job of a customer that I liked, I use the statement that Eric just said there. I think that's perfect. Yeah. But we just don't really put that into a process. We just kind of go, oh, word of mouth is going to happen. So
I missed my chance to sell my word of mouth script that I could have put together for you guys and
for the low cost of $9.95 every month for the next 2 years. You can have Eric's script for word of mouth.
And honestly, there'd be nothing wrong with that if that's what you need. And people selling those tools, that's fine. That's great. I mean, you coach on success, and you know that sometimes people need that first kick. I think for me, I just want to make it really clear to folks that it's more powerful than you think. You're not bothering somebody if you ask, especially if you put it in a way that puts them at center stage. And that's hard. I'm somebody who doesn't like to impose on people. But
now you made me have to find something, Eric, with the thing you just said there. So keep talking.
For sure. But it's like you're not imposing on people. And a lot of people want a free way to help you. If you're going to ask them to do something that costs a lot, then they may not be able to help you. But if you just tell them like, hey, costs you nothing, and you don't even have to say it like that, but like, hey, you know what? A great no cost way to help me out if you don't have something to order right now, especially if you're online talking to people. So great no-cost way to help me if you don't have anything you want to order from me right now is just tell your friends that I'm a good place to go. And that's a fantastic thing to do. Product lines do this all the time online, and I think it's actually fairly powerful. When people are doing like small boutique product lines, I see it fairly often where they're like, hey, you know how you support me? If you can't buy the stuff I'm making right now, is just share. Just interact, share this to a friend, let people know. And I think we can do that on a personal level because that's the thing. We talk about social media strategies, but they're social strategies. And these work in any place where we're interacting with people. And I think hand to hand, over the handshake, over the barrel head, the old school term, we're sitting there talking over our counters with people or meeting people and dropping off product. What a better time just to say, I'm so glad you like your order. If there's somebody else I can work with that I'd love for you to let them know because I really want to work with more people like you. But excellent way to do it, and it puts the center on them as being your great customer the same way they're putting it on you for the great work you did.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
All right, I found the thing, Eric. Like I said, you said this word. It sparked this thing in my head. I'm like, I was like stuck on it. I had to go find it. And I actually shared this yesterday in the Condi open house presentation that I did.
Awesome.
So that's why it was so fresh in mind too. But your comment perfectly linked to this quote from a gentleman named Seth Godin. If he's not somebody that you're familiar with, please go check him out. He's well worth learning from. So here we go. Selling to people who actually want to hear from you is more effective than interrupting strangers who don't.
Chef's kiss. Perfect way to put that. Come
Mic
on.
Drop?
That is okay. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's the same thing when we talk about niche marketing. When you're marketing to a niche that you belong to and you understand their language, you're offering a product that you know people want to people who are engaged with you and you're part of the community. That's why niche marketing to a niche you belong to is so great for your first venture into marketing. But obviously, it's always going to be better with someone who's already engaged with you. You don't have to open the conversation. And for people who are not great at being salesy, the concept of what it means to be a salesperson, which, by the way, I think is being flipped on its head every day. But that concept of having to push and be in front of people and broadcast, you're not in that place. You're having a conversation.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, is there anything else? But because last week we didn't leave ourselves enough space. So if you have anything else, perfect. That's good. No, but we can also get to weekly wins too, whatever you want to do.
I have one more thing I'll just say.
Yeah, please.
I think this is just interesting. And it's a conversation we can have. And I think it's a brief conversation we can have.
Oh boy.
It was interesting to hear. It was interesting to hear, hear him talking about kind of perfectionism and learning your craft. Ooh. I am certainly somebody who both engages in this and suffers from it. And I think that we actually have a balance to meet. And that's an interesting thing to discuss. When we are looking at our own products, just like marketing and everything else, I think I want us all to remember that we are not the end audience for the product. And we may not be the best judges of our own work sometimes. What Dan brought up was that he was he's a perfectionist and I don't want to let this go out of my shop. And I fully agree with that. I've had times where I will reject work that other people might let go because I want to make sure that I'm bringing that work that is of a high quality to people. I don't want to do the magic shuffling trick where you put the bad shirt 4 down in the stack so they see the good one on top and maybe in the bottoms. And
then they're happy. And
maybe they slip that one bad shirt by. Yeah, no. I try not to do that, and honestly, I'm pretty diligent about trying to make sure my details are good. However, I think there comes a point of diminishing returns where perfect is the enemy of good, and if we work toward that last 5% and it takes 80% of our time, that last 5% may just not be worthwhile. Something to examine for everybody this week. So something I'm going to talk about to myself as I kind of go through my recaps for the week is. Am I refining too much? Am I polishing something that's already shiny?
I love that.
And honestly, who am I doing this for? Is it me or the customer?
Yeah.
And we have to remember that.
Man, what a good point. And you're right. It is a good conversation and good things to think about too. I love both those things that you just said. Right. Who am I polishing this for is a great question to ask yourself.
Absolutely.
And am I polishing it beyond the point of what's that? Diminishing return is the word I'm looking for. But
totally.
I will just I know I was trying to move forward. Now I'm going to hold this back.
Go for it.
But so here's another thing that's interesting because you're going to find that in different areas of passion too. Like the reason that I'm not an everyday decorator is that I don't have that passion for that perfect product. I am the guy that would probably, 4th shirt down. It's okay. Get it out the door. Right. When it comes to that stuff. And that's why the decorating we do here always goes through my wife. Cause she is, the one that will go, nope, we're not doing that. And it's, our name on it. So you got to have that balance, but then there's other things where it's like, oh no, I'm nope, unless that presentation is exactly right, unless we've, refined this down to right. So these are the things that I'm super passionate about, the impactful things for me, the things that are in my value wheelhouse are where I then need to start asking myself, who is this for? Is this for me or for the audience? Is this shiny enough, right? Am I going to be the only one that notices it, kind of thing? So I think that's another kind of side of this too. Like the things that we're passionate about are going to be the things that we're probably most critical about too.
Sure. I think so. Well, hey, the good thing to know about this, if you are, and we already have some comments about this, like Barb says, overthinking perfectionist, I can relate. Absolutely. Me too. Believe me, I've definitely been accused of overthinking things for sure. What I'll say is, at the very least, we can use that as a gauge to a degree, as a gauge of our passions of the things we care about. What I will also do, though, I will say it is something to examine. I think we should keep it in mind, like I said, about the audience, but also just to remember that, we are going to be our harshest critics. Other people are not experts in our field, and there is such a thing as good enough. Yep. And it doesn't mean, hey, I don't think it's slacking. You shouldn't be slacking. I don't think you should do bad work and put it out there. Absolutely not. The barrier to entry is work that is of quality. Yeah. But at the same time, barrier is good enough.
Yeah. I mean, Terry's quote is, do good work and deliver on time. It's not do perfect work and deliver on time. I'm not saying Terry is gospel, but that idea, right? Sometimes don't tell him this because he'll get big-headed. But yes, I agree with a lot of things.
We'll never hear the end of it if you tell him Terry's word is gospel.
All right.
He'll preach.
So
be careful.
Terry. All right, Terry. See, now you got it. Now.
It's all
perfect,
good.
Eric. We need to. Can we start over? No. All right.
No. It's good enough. It's good enough.
It's good enough. All right. So, are we ready for weekly wins?
Let's go for it, man.
Weekly all right. Wins. Cool. Now, before we get into ours, Ramona has jumped in already, which is great. This is really what we want. We want you guys, and Barb's in now too. So we're looking for your guys' weekly wins. We will share ours, but the whole idea here is as a community of the half, we're going to celebrate these things together. And so let's start with Ramona's here. She says, win after being gone a few days at the Applique Getaway event. I'm just today caught up. So very good.
Well
very nice.
Done.
Good job, Ramona. Nice.
Applause all around.
Yep. And then Barb says, my win for the week was finding antique American Legion Honor Guard buttons for a jacket, so everything matched. Oh, wow. That had to be a bit of a challenge. Right? Yeah, nice. That is, man.
There's your perfectionism. But that is also like, at the same time, I'm like, I feel the goodness of finding that.
Yeah.
I can imagine the satisfaction of that.
Yeah. All right, everybody else that's tuned in, we expect your weekly win here. So come on and bring it. Yeah, Eric, are you ready?
Sure, I can start. Here's one because you guys know I often take on maybe a little more than I should. That is maybe a little more than I have time for. And what I'm going to say is I had this week I had something that was running late that I hadn't done that I got done. That's one of the wins. The great thing was though, nice. For this same publisher, I had 2 articles and the next article was coming due soon. I turned in an article with all of the assets and everything a full day early. And for me, that I thought the world might end. I thought I might have turned it on its access. Everything was good.
The apocalypse I coming.
I know. I was like, am I dead? Am I in heaven now? I turned in everything a day early. What happened? So yes, I was very pleased to click that send button and have my editor say, oh, that's brilliant. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. Like you got it all in early during the summer when I need the time. And I was like, yes, my benevolence is massive. Right.
Yeah. Ramona says
I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah, good for you. Well, round of applause for Eric as well. Ramona says, laugh, Eric, just a little too much laugh. I get it. All right. And then Barb, good job. Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Let's see here. So
some more wins.
Yeah, definitely. I love it. This is perfect, you guys. Thank you so much. Bill says, my win for the week was getting my first 100 hat order, followed by 60 a few hours later. Nice, Bill. Love it. Woohoo.
Go get it, man.
And then Cindy says, my win is a great friend made a spectacular design for me. Thank you, Ramona. Excellent. Good job, both of you guys.
Love it.
And Cindy also work win finished a big, that's 3 bigs, all in caps. Love it. Load of caps.
And she's from Texas, so that's probably Texas big.
Yeah, wow.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
That's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard. We live right next to it. I won't say any demeaning Texas jokes, even though I'm from New Mexico. I'm going to keep those all to myself.
All right. Yeah.
Because we sometimes have a slight rivalry across the border.
You got it. Yeah. Barb says, thanks. I like to take care of the local Legion veterans. That's awesome. That's super cool, Barb.
Awesome.
Thanks for.
And what kind of win? Taking care of people is always a win. Come on.
Yep, exactly. So big round of applause for everybody.
And Cindy confirms, yes. Texas big. I told you. Let a Texan tell you it's big. They'll tell you it's big. I promise.
Yeah, that's right. Go Texas. Awesome. Love it. Cool. Very good, everybody. I love that.
Nice,
good stuff there. Okay, I'll be man.
Yeah, your win.
What to choose from, right? it's been a great week. It's been a great couple
I saw
weeks.
You started some new projects and did some cool new stuff, my friend. So I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
I want to know what you're gonna pick.
All right, I'm just gonna, you know what? There's three things that stand out, and I can't pick between. That's like picking my favorite kid, right? Just you don't want to do that kind of thing. It's not good for your relationships. So, let's see. So number one, the graphics AI training with Dane Clement was, it was awesome. Everybody's, I mean, my mind is still like blown away, and some of the things I learned, and so everybody had really great feedback, and everybody had really good feedback for what 201 is. I already talked to Dane, and then he's good to go for a round 2. So we'll figure that out. So if you missed the first one, you know, you can become an OSG member, and you can still get it. So that's okay. It's still out there, and just throwing it out there. You know, you ask me how.
There's a whole lot of content back there.
So that's number one. Number 2 was the book is now available for purchase online as an ebook, and taking some pre-orders for the paperback version. Talking to some publishers, so paperback version should be out hopefully. Well, not hopefully, it will be out by 4th quarter, one way or the other. So if you want to check that out, oursuccessgroup.com. Thank you, Eric, for putting that up. FBS book to check that out. I've been just loving the feedback that I've been getting from some folks that have had a chance to read it. My Masters of Success group all got the early edition before I put it up there, and I'm blown away by how much good feedback they're giving me. So I appreciate that. Very humbled by that. And then last but not least, I said I had 3. I did a presentation for Condi's open house yesterday, and I don't know, out of body experience or something happened. It felt right, and it worked, right? So I didn't practice it, and it was shorter than the time frame was shorter than I really wanted it to be, and it just worked out. So I'm gonna take that as a win, and I enjoyed the heck out of it, and I think people got on the back. Out of it too. So thank you. Yeah.
Very
what
nice.
else? What else?
I always talk about that. That's like the guy shows up. That's what I say about it. There's all these this time where you're at the presentation, and whoever that guy is inside of you, guy, gal, or otherwise, shows up, and he just showed up.
And instead of getting in the way of that guy, I just let that guy go.
I know I have to do it every time. I just gotta let whoever that guy is. Presentation Eric for me shows up. Like
there you go. Love it.
He shows up, and I let him talk. I'm good for him.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys have more wins, keep putting them in there. There's no limit to this. You see, I did 3. So if you guys have more, keep them coming. And but while we're doing that, we're also this is the opportunity. We gave ourselves a little space this time. So if you have challenges or questions, we can talk about those and go from there. I know Ramona had what her challenge was earlier, and she just sharing that.
I'll grab that.
Let's put that up there. I had a conversation with Christine about my website. Going to make some tweaks. She said big changes not needed, just little tweaks. So there you go. Love it.
Hey, it's hard because it's easy to let that stuff get stagnant. So a challenge, checking over your stuff, making sure it's still good.
And knowing what to do, right? So I think that's awesome that you were, because the other thing about it, like when it's our website, it's something that you've built and it's your baby, right? You don't want to hear that something needs tweaked, right? So to be open to just talk to somebody about it and get feedback is also a real kind of a cool.
It's also a win though too. Yeah, for real.
Yeah. So what other questions, comments, concerns, any challenges that you're working on, Eric?
I'll certainly give my challenges. My big one is on the back of that win. I thought, man, I'm going to be able to just accomplish everything. I've gotten an article in early. I am blowing, gone. Everything's going to be good. And had other setbacks. And it was like, and I still have some stuff that's overdue that I'm still catching up on. And so it was really hard to kind of mitigate that, where I'm like, it was great that I got something early, but it was something where I had to choose a priority, and it meant letting something else down. And that was hard. And I'll say my challenge now is not only prioritizing, but understanding that when I take something else on, when I say yes, it's a no to other things. And I need to remember that there's a finite amount of time and effort that I can possibly put out there. So my big challenge coming up here is to do some pruning. It's the nicest way I can put it. Make sure that that the things that I'm doing are making sense and are headed toward my goal. And I desperately need to do that. I need to make sure that everything's making sense, headed toward the goal. and then hold myself accountable for those things. And I think that's what it is, where it's like, it's great to congratulate yourself over a massive amount of work. Because during that period of time, I turned out in 2 days what would usually be a week of work. And that was incredible. And that's great. But at the same time, and there's a bunch of other stuff that's not the articles that was part of that. But I also, the next day, felt very burned out, was not as effective as I could have been. And I probably could have mitigated that a little bit across time. So my big challenge, and I think it's always my big challenge, prioritization, pruning, and putting systems in place to make sure things get done that need to get done. And that I'm also right. I have what I need, the resources I need to do what's coming up.
Yeah.
That's my big challenge this week, is working on that. But it's a continual challenge.
Yeah. I love that you share that, because that's certainly a challenge that I work on a lot too. And the thing that I'm learning the most in that space is because I think the judgment of not getting things done will hold you back. And, and a lot of, for a long time, that also held me back from the celebration. But when I finally realized that the celebration was also not about the judgment, right? Oh, I'm celebrating, it's finale, it's just a pat on the back. It's awesome, I'm feeling good, but it's not a limiter, right? And the same thing with a setback, a challenge. It's like, okay, it is what it is. I got to leave the judgment part behind and just say, what can I glean from it? And then let it go, right? And so I'm right there with you. And then I guess to tack on to that challenge, the additional, because the other thing that I'm noticing as these things are starting to happen, right? More opportunities and that kind of momentum, that flow, you go, oh, well, I can take on more now. Right. Yeah. But that's probably where I get myself in trouble, because, this goodness creates more goodness. And then I want to grab it all, but I need to also stay focused, right? I can't just grab every good thing, because I need to save time for the great. Right. And that great will get lost if I do that. So,
and on top of that, I not to put too fine a point on it, folks, you are spending the limited hours of your lifespan. Tomorrow is not guaranteed to any of us. So we need to also make sure we're taking a little time to live and be with the people we love, and say the things we should say and do the things we want to do. That's not bad. That's the point.
Yep. I agree.
That's the point. I love it. We are not machines made to work and die. And I am not good at this one. And that's why I'm saying it out loud, because it's like, I got to hear it in my own headphones so that I can think about this tomorrow.
Yeah.
But for real.
Well, the great part is too, Eric, is, we have these platforms that we get to, talk about this stuff. And a lot of times people, I talk a lot about success principles and stuff like that. And people are like, oh, he's got it all figured out. No, I'm talking about this stuff because I want to explore it and get a little deeper understanding of it myself, right? If I can help somebody along with me at the same time, that's bonus. But the reality of these things is we talk about these things so we can dig deeper into it too. And so I would challenge you guys out there to say, why don't you start talking about the things that you're working on, get yourself out there a little bit more and see how that actually elevates you. And, if you're bringing somebody else along with you at the same time, great. But that's not the point. So, okay, a couple quick things here from the listeners, Eric. Mo, hang tight before you do anything, though. As an OSG member, you actually get a copy of the ebook. So I just haven't got that out there to the members yet, because I wanted to get a couple more edits done first. So stay tuned. If you want the paperback, yes, you will have to buy that, but hang on for that too, because we're working on it. All right. Let's see here. So Bill, thank you. Bill, there we go. Go ahead.
So Bill says, my challenge this week is figure out how to put a name on a horse halter. I'm going to go ahead and say, I understand what Barb says is fantastic. Bill she asked if Bill had embroidered on it. Horse halters generally made of thick, kind of heavy webbing. She was putting a felt name patch, then sewing it on the halter with the industrial sewing machine. Fantastic way to handle this. You'll actually see a lot of, I did some pet stuff, and you'll see this in stores pretty frequently, where they will do a detail on fabric and then sew the fabric on with either a hem or some other seam or edging on it. That's a perfect way to handle it. If you decide to embroider webbing directly, stout, sharp needle, clear non-staining silicone are your friends. Use lots of underlace that are not in the same density pattern as the rest of your satins, and that will help you to get more coverage on it and help shore up your edges. But it's not an easy thing to do, and lots of people like the patch method, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yep. And Bill, yeah, how are you planning to put that name on there? What would you like to have happen? Because, I've seen lots of different things on there, from, screen print transfers to, you could even DTF on something like that, or a cut vinyl. It just depends
depending on
what
will adhere,
what you're going for,
the material that it is.
Yeah.
And webbing is varied very much, what material it may be and how much texture is there.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Mo, by the way.
Right on.
All right. Boom.
That was almost like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, look at that. Just about on time. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much. And Eric, high five, brother.
Yeah, man. Applause all around, folks. See you next week.